Go ahead and open up your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. By the way, ladies, we are officially in ring watch season. I'm definitely in a place of I need to get my nails done, but also like, should I get it done now? Should I wait a week until Easter? I don't know, but I just kind of have this feeling that any day now that could happen, which is pretty crazy considering the fact that a year ago I did not even know this man, and yet here we are. But what ultimately inspired today's episode was yesterday I was chatting with one of my best friends, hadn't talked to her in a while, and I just asked, hey, how are ya? And she replied, oh, just trying to find a husband. Girl, I know that reply all too well. I know that season all too well. I am one of the last single girls in my friendship group. And so I have been on the hunt for a husband for a very, very long time. But when she said that to me, I really heard it differently, not only because of this verse, also because of the place I'm at in my life and in my relationship. And I had to remind her what I want to remind you. Okay. This episode in particular is for my single girlies, but also those of you who you are in relationships, you are in marriages. I also believe that this applies to you as well, because a man's pursuit should never really fully end. Even when he has that commitment to you, there should always be a hunt and a curiosity and a gratitude that doesn't allow for him to take you for granted. And so I had to correct her and I said, babe, it is not she who finds a husband. It is he who finds a wife. And I really believe even that switch in language can make all the difference in how you carry yourself when you are out and about, hoping that perhaps you might meet that person, that love of your life, that human who you perhaps have been praying for your entire life. But I want to remind you that if ever, whenever you chase a man, that's when he runs. Whenever you think, because I've done this before, where you trick yourself into thinking, well, let me make it as easy as possible for him to find me. And there's some truth to that. Like, you're not going to have a man find you when you are in your house and reading a book or watching Netflix and you are as inactive as possible and have completely gotten out of practice when it comes to how do you even socialize, how do you even flirt. Like, I'll even admit that months before I met Honey, I got to this place where I was like, I don't even think I remember how to flirt anymore. Like, it has been so long since I have been out and about. I had gone from a place where I was used to drinking multiple days a week. And then I got to a place where I wasn't drinking at all. I also was running my own business. So I was very into my masculine a lot. And so part of me moving across the country was to challenge myself to put myself out there more, make new friends, force myself into a situation where I couldn't just go to the exact same neighborhoods and restaurants and even gyms that I was used to going to where I already knew everybody. I wanted to explore and find new people and meet new things. So I do think that there is some truth to, okay, well, you do want to just make it possible for someone, and especially someone new, to be able to even know that you exist. But what I think we have done wrong, and certainly for me, I refer to that version of me and perhaps to you as the lover girl. Who's the lover girl? The lover girl is the one who you just want to be loved so bad. You have been thinking about, praying about getting married, being in a relationship, like you just want it so bad. You really believe that when you get that ring on your finger, it is going to be some kind of a prize, some kind of a trophy, some kind of a freedom. It'll be like winning the Super Bowl. And where for you, perhaps love has found you so little in your life, especially in relationships romantically, that quite frankly, a cockroach could tell you that you're beautiful and you could fall in love with that cockroach. because you just want it so bad. Like you try so hard to make something or someone work. You want to see the best in somebody. You are guilty of falling in love with potential. You are guilty of setting the expectation of for every first date or for any interaction or flirtation with a man, oh my gosh, this could be my husband, because you just want happily ever after so bad. And I I know you and I love you, and to love you is to know you. And also though, babe, this is where I really need you to detach yourself from that kind of an outcome and recognize that the Most High God has already chosen you, already loves you, you've already won, and that you are the prize. And what we accidentally do sometimes is we want to make it as easy as possible for someone to know that we are on the market, that we are lovable, and that they would be so lucky to have us as a wife or as a girlfriend. And so it might look something like this, where perhaps you are so focused on that date of making sure that they get to know you. It's almost like you are getting ready to do a job interview where you have all of the little pieces of your resume where you want to make sure that they know exactly what it is that you have in common, that they know that none of your exes think that you're crazy, that they know that you don't have any baggage, and that you are just like the go with the flow, easy kind of girl. But what you don't realize is that when you're doing that, when you're having to convince someone to like you or to even love you or be in a relationship with you, you have now taken the pursuit out of his corner. Where what you really want is someone who they are trying to find a wife. They should also be curious about you. They should be wanting to get to know you, where you don't have to put it all out there. They want to know, when is the next time that I can see you? And rather than you being like, well, whenever, I'm totally free, you have a busy and full life, and they would be so lucky to be able to get time with you. And we lose sight of that sometimes. Where again, we just want to make it easy. We just want to make it easy because, of course, if we make it easy, that's why they would want to stay, right? Honestly, men are not so much dumb, although they can be dumb, but really they are simple. They are simple creatures. And as long as you give them the green light, they will pursue. If you give someone the green light and then another, and then another, and then another, and they're still not pursuing, then that's where you need to understand, okay, this person just is not for you. And that doesn't mean that you're not good enough. That doesn't mean that you're not pretty enough or skinny enough or anything enough. You are more than enough, babe. But we need to start making sure that we are looking at these relationships like compatibility problems, not like there is something lacking of you problem. And while there's always room for us to grow and there's always room for improvement and you should always be evolving, knowing full well that you walking into the room is enough. And now it's a matter of whether or not we find someone who is compatible with you. And I've heard things like, when the man is ready, the woman will appear. It's not about him finding the right woman. It's about him just being ready. And then whoever's in front of him is who he's going to settle down with. But honestly, I say bullshit to that one, because in that situation, you're not giving the woman enough credit. Because ultimately, the way that I look at it is, let's look behind this whole equation. Chances are what happened is that something occurred in this man's life, whether it was a birthday or a broken heart, that made him realize that he needed to change and that what he was doing before was not giving him what he wanted out of his future, whether that was a wife or maybe it is him looking at the way that he wants kids or whatever it is. But something happened that made him go, dang, whatever I was doing before, I can't do that anymore. And so then what happens is he starts to enter the dating pool perhaps a little differently, or perhaps he meets someone who inspires him to rise to the occasion. But in those situations, it still has the girl who needs to set the boundary and set the bar and set the approval to say whether or not his behavior or his kind is acceptable for her or not. And sometimes it's actually the woman who says, no, that's not going to work for me, that actually makes him go, wait, what? This worked every other time for every other girl. What do you mean it won't work for you? Why won't it work for you? And similar to how maybe with you, You find yourself consistently attracted to the people who challenge you or who, quite frankly, don't want you or who say that they don't want a relationship. And somehow that makes you want to prove them wrong even more, the way that you would any other achievement or job or goal. But that's actually, for you, unhealthy. Because most of the time when it's the girl who feels that way, you're actually lowering the bar and you're allowing for his behavior to be acceptable in a way that otherwise you would not be okay with, versus when it is the man who's challenged, it usually forces him to step up in a way that he's not actually used to. It's by hearing the word no. It's by seeing that a woman has boundaries. It's by getting to know that that woman knows exactly who she is. That's so important. She knows exactly who she is. Versus maybe you're the type who, whenever you're dating someone, you start dressing like them. You start picking up their hobbies. You start hanging out with their friends more than your friends, or you totally abandon your friends. That's also common of the lover girl, is that you find yourself abandoning who you thought you were to simply adapt and morph into who you think he wants you to be. When in actuality, the best couples have enough polarity in personality that they have this push-pull that creates a healthy level of attraction, rather than the toxic pull that you perhaps have tricked yourself into. Like, I also think this whole attachment conversation is bullshit. And what I mean by that is, typically, if you are constantly chasing after a man, you've perhaps tricked yourself into thinking that you are what is referred to as anxiously attached. You constantly need the affirmation and the reassurance from someone. You need to be in constant communication with someone to trust that they truly do love you, to trust that they're not cheating on you, to trust that their feelings are true about you. And it's possible that some of this does stem from maybe parenting or from someone else previously cheating on you. But then there's the opposite side of that, which is the avoidant attached. That's when someone isn't always as communicative. They don't always follow through. Getting close to you actually makes them scared and they run away. And I think we have been trained to believe that this is just how you are, but I challenge that. I actually believe that when you're in a situation with someone who is mature, they will make you feel secure. I also believe that when you are in a relationship with someone and you are genuinely interested, you also will not avoid, versus you avoid when you're not interested. And if you're anxious, it's because there is a reason that that person is making you believe that you're not priority. And chances are it's because you're not. You're not a priority to them, versus the person who they are looking for a wife. They're not looking for a roster. They're not looking to compare girl to girl to girl to girl, sleep at her house this night and sleep at her house this night, and then maybe you'll commit. No, babe. You're looking for the person who he is clearing the roster. He doesn't even want to have that girl's phone number in his phone. There used to be a thing called the little black book back in the day before we had our address books and our contact lists in our phones, where a guy had what was called the little black book. It was like a little wallet-sized thing that he'd keep in his pocket. And the way the tradition went was when he found a girl who he thought was worth spending time on, he would throw that book away. And that's the kind of guy that we want. He's not interested in following other girls and texting other girls and seeking validation from other girls. He is secure enough to know what he wants. He's ready for that. And you yourself also, though, need to ready your heart. Because this is what I want you to do. I want you to get really, really clear on who you want, but more importantly, who you want to be. So that when someone does start pursuing you, you don't simply go back to your old ways and adapt to them pursuing you. And this person who might feel safe and wonderful is still making you lose sight of yourself and your hobbies and your non-negotiable and your relationship with God. You need to be so secure. So come up with a list right now. Who do you really want? Who do you really want? What are your non-negotiables? Because there might be certain things about appearance that you can change. There might be certain habits that you can change, but really you can't change a man and you should never want to change a man. You can change his shoes. You can't change his heart. You can perhaps change his taste in food or introduce him to new workouts, or you might be able to introduce him to church, but you can't get him to actually go. You can't be the person who makes him believe in God. There are a lot of things that you need to understand in that you will both bring out the best in each other. It is not about you trying to get someone to fit perfectly into your box, but really think about what are the 5 non-negotiables for you. Is it believing in God? Is it loving your family? Is it having some level of ambition? Because what we also don't want is for you to fall in love with his potential. Like, oh my gosh, he could do all of these things if he really wanted to. Yeah, and if he wanted to, he would. But your idea of success and his idea of success could be 2 totally different things. Your idea of what family and parenting and money should look like might be totally different from what he believes it could and should and would look like. And is it inevitable that you both will change in 5 or 10 years? Sure. And the hope is going to be that you still change in parallel and you're still going into the same places. But ultimately, it's that you want to figure out what are the characteristics and qualities that are going to be permanent. That even 5 or 10 years from now, if this is the best that you're going to get, if this is the best you're going to get immediately in front of you and right now, is that okay with you? If this multiplied into 2, 3, 4, or 5 other children, would you be okay with that? Or are you already thinking like, oh my gosh, this is a man-child. What do I want? I also think that for a lot of you, what you perhaps wanted in your 20s is different from you now in your 30s, or maybe you're even entering your 40s. In which case, what you wanted then, it's going to be different from right now. When I was in my 20s, I thought I wanted the life of the party. All right. Now that in my 30s, I definitely want someone who I can leave alone at a party or leave alone in a networking event and have him be able to talk to people. But I do not want the life of the party. I'm looking at what the life of the party in my 20s turned into in his 30s, and I am so grateful that things did not work out. I am enough of a life of the party on my own. If there were 2 of us, that would be too many. Like that would be too many. And I don't even drink anymore. So there's that. But think of what are at least 5 non-negotiables and really know your one. For me, it was a belief in God. I didn't just need for him to love me for who I am. I needed him to love me for whose I am. And so that made it really easy for me. Okay, well, if you're only spiritual, that's not going to work. If we believe in different gods, that's not going to work. If you don't want to go to church with me, that was another thing that for me was really important, where it was like, okay, well, but like, how much God loving, fearing does he need to be? Because are you okay with someone who they don't go to church on Sundays? No, I wasn't. But also, and here's where you flip it. You need to figure out, okay, if these are the 5 negotiables that you want for a man, what kind of woman then attracts that? And who do you need to become? Not for him, for you, because this is your list. This is your list. So it's becoming that for you that in turn would attract someone like him. And so, for example, there were years and years and years ago where here I was praying for a man who loved God, feared God, went to church, and yet in that particular season, your girl was not going to church. Your girl was not going to church at all, and she was lucky if she did go, and she was lucky if she did make it, and she wasn't hungover at that particular season in time. And so I realized here I was wishing and praying for a man, for a husband. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I wanted him to be. I just knew that I wanted to be loved and that the options were getting slimmer and that I felt like my standards were too high. And girl, you are not too picky. Let me just say that you are not too picky. If ever someone says that you are too picky, then my question for you is, do you like her husband? Do you like her husband? Or is she just looking down on you for being too picky and she herself is not even happy in her own marriage? I will just say that. But if you're going to be too picky, you need to stick to it. You need to stick to whatever your standards are, and you need to continue to rise to the occasion of the level of who you need to be in that. And once you know, okay, this is who he needs to be, this is who I need to be, this is your compass when it comes to dating. Because if he doesn't match what you need, then you need to ask yourself, okay, well then does my standard need to change? Because he's probably not going to change. And if my standard is changing, am I changing it for this guy, or am I truly changing it because I am okay with this and God would be okay with this? Ask God to bless that list. Ask God to open up your heart to what should be on that list. And then get through the candidates even faster. Fine if you don't have that many matches on your dating app. Fine if you're not going on that many dates. Keep your standards high and know full well where your time is worth going. And also, open yourself up to other people. Let other people find you a husband. Hey, if there's anyone who you know is looking for a wife, not just do you know anyone who's single, not just do you know anyone who's dating or who I would get along with, do you know anyone who is looking for a wife? Well, feel free to give them my information, or please give them my information if they meet this criteria. Open up the pool for that. But what I want to remind you of again and again and again and again, it is not she who finds a husband. It is he who finds a wife. How can you put yourself out there in a way that his eyes open up? But if his eyes aren't open, if his eyes don't see who you are, who you have the potential to be, who you have the ability to be as a girlfriend, as a wife, as a mother to children, if that's the path that you truly want, if he does not see it, we don't want it. We don't want it. But please commit to me here and now that we are done trying to make it easy, trying to convince somebody else to love you, trying to help them to understand what makes you a good wife. No, babe, let him find you. Let him come to you. Let him pursue you, and may that pursuit never stop. Will you pray with me? Lord, thank you so much for choosing me every single day. Thank you so much for creating me in the image of you. Thank you so much for giving me this patience, for having me wait as long as you did, for continuing to mature and refine and open up my heart for who I need to be, for my husband to be able to find me. Lord, I pray for my husband. I pray for my husband that he knows you, that he loves you, and that you are readying his heart to find me in your perfect timing. And Lord, I pray that you remind me not just who I want to be with, but who do I need to be? And please always remind me whose I need to be. Help me to rise to the level that I need to be in your eyes. And help me to also see that I am enough exactly as I am. I thank you, Lord, for this day. I thank you, Lord, for this episode. And I pray, Lord, that you guide me in these next steps to be and be with who you believe I need to be and be with. Amen. Friend, if you enjoyed this episode, if you want to go deeper into any one of those conversation points, because I feel like this could have been like a 2 or 3 hour episode, let's talk about it. So far, the most views on episodes have been around these types of conversations of having this love find you, of helping God find your person. But again, I really believe that it is about you knowing who you want to be and who you want, and also praying for God to open and soften your heart of what really matters, the matters of the spirit and not just the matters of the flesh. And I pray that you send this to one single friend. Send it to one single friend who you know needs the reminder, who you perhaps know has been putting so much effort and so many reps and has just been exhausting herself in the dating pool, the dating world, and really perhaps what she needs to focus on more than anything else is her relationship with the Lord and her relationship with herself before she then goes back out into the wild and can really be able to know right away, discern right away who is and who isn't for her. But I thank you so much for being here. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up or a 5-star rating, depending on where you're watching or listening, and make sure that you subscribe.